Oh boy. Oh boy. Usually, when it gets towards the end of the year, I'm pretty excited to do my top superhero movies of that year because it's been my favorite genre of films. It's been most of my highly anticipated movies of the year, so it's cool after the fact to see where they all ranked. But this year is one of the few times that I wasn't looking forward to doing it because I don't think it's been a great year for superhero movies, and that's rather disappointing looking back. But let's just go with it. There's been 8 films that I have listed here, at least theatrically, for superhero movies. So let's start with the bottom of the list, as I'm sure for some people this is at the top of their list. But for me, it's The Flash. There are moments of The Flash that I did enjoy, and there are things about the movie that I do think, like certain sequences or certain action moments that are epic. But for the most part, I feel like this was a disappointment. I feel like this was a failure for a lot of reasons. One, Ezra Miller, I'm not going to bore you and talk about what I think of Ezra Miller personally. I think we all know that, and a lot of us share those thoughts. I'm more talking about just as an actor. I've never gelled with Ezra Miller. I've never vibed with him. I've never completely liked his performance as Barry Allen. I feel like he just is weird, and it's not the Barry Allen that I think works for me in this universe. I've always had a problem with him. And also, you look at some of the CGI. Oh, fuck. The CGI is one of the most glaring things about this movie. And I know the director has said that that's how it was supposed to look. I call bullshit. There is something got lost in the sauce. Something went wrong when it came to the editing. Also, bringing back Michael Keaton as Batman is something that I have been begging for and asking for. I've made videos about bringing back Michael Keaton as Batman years ago, and I got it. And as cool as it was, it's still disappointing because it still did not feel 100% like the Tim Burton Batman, the Tim Burton Michael Keaton Batman that I was hoping for. It felt like it was just, well, it's Keaton in the Batman costume, and he resays a lot of his more iconic lines, but I didn't think they did a great job of feeling like we went back to that same Burton world. All of that's murky, all of that's confusing. Same thing with Supergirl, a lot of things that start out great, but for me just don't end well. Number 7, Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Technically, you could argue that this is even a worse movie than The Flash, just from a writing standpoint and everything that goes down in this film. I did find some moments amusing, and I do like a couple things about this film, especially when it comes to some of the kids, but I don't know. For whatever reason, Zachary Levi didn't really work for me the second time around. I thought he was more entertaining in the first film, but this time he's even more goofy. This time he's even more over the top. And the difference between his version of Shazam and the other actor playing Billy is so much more glaring. Also, the villains, huge disappointment, just so much genericness going on. And speaking of genericness, I think number 6, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I can't say this is a terrible film. It's not even at the bottom of the list. I just don't think I will remember a whole lot about this movie in a couple more weeks. There are decent moments to be had. There's some decent action scenes. I still think the CGI underwater looks very wonky. I still find it hard to care about the Aquaman character on his own, and I think that they tried to do stuff with Patrick Wilson, his brother. I think they tried to do something else with Yahya Abdul-Mateen as the villain, but I feel like that failed epically. Number 5, The Marvels. All right, finally we have a Marvel movie on this list, and I wish I could put this higher because I like a lot of things about this movie. As far as Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, I think she's the best part of the film. I think Brie Larson even is better this time around than she was in her first film. And also, I think the dynamic between Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau, there's some decent stuff going on there, but you don't get enough of their story and their past issues. It's just not fleshed out enough. There's a lot of things in this movie that's not fleshed out enough. The villain, sadly, is horrible. And I can't forgive it just because it might be a fun movie. No, I'm sorry. There's still a lot of writing issues. Or if this stuff was edited out, then that's a problem. Nick Fury being so jokey and goofy after the events of Secret Invasion does not make sense. And if this was supposed to be before Secret Invasion, then that's your guys' fault for putting this out after the fact. Number 4, Blue Beetle, a movie that I probably didn't have a whole lot of hype and hopes for, so maybe that's why I have it so much higher, because it was just a fun film. It was a decent film. It was a good introduction to this character. I loved the Hispanic representation of Jaime Reyes and him with his family. I think a lot of that is some of the strongest stuff in this movie. Having a DC movie that's not so connected to the Snyderverse and having the potential for him to go forward on his own was the right way to go. Number 3, AntMan and the Wasp: Quantumania. It says a lot that this movie is this high on the list as far as everything else that came out in the year. And I don't even hate Ant-Man Quantumania. I think that there are some good stuff in here. Like Paul Rudd is always great. I think a lot of the cast, just in general, as far as performances, are pretty good. And Jonathan Majors is great as Kang the Conqueror. The problem is just what they do with him, and especially how this ends, where it feels like they took the air right out of having any reason to give a fuck about Kang as a character or to see him as a real and serious threat. I know a lot of people have issues with the entire movie taking place in the quantum realm and maybe how over-the-top CGI it looks, and I can understand that. It just didn't really bother me all that much, and I do feel like there are things that they could have done better to either balance the humor or if you wanted to play this more straightforward, make Kang more of a serious threat, I would have been more for that. Overall, I think after the fact, the movie just ends up being an okay film. Number 2, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I wish I could put this higher, and that sounds crazy because it's only number 2, but this is a great movie. What a great way for James Gunn to leave the Marvel Cinematic Universe and to go off and do his thing at DC. If he's still capable of doing movies like this, then DC, holy shit, they're in good hands. I think a lot of the characters in the Guardians are handled so well that just when I thought I might get sick of characters like Star-Lord or whoever, Drax, I think they do a great job of still making them fun, still making them entertaining, still making me want to see more of them in any capacity. Rocket Raccoon continues to be my favorite character of the group, and I love that we got his backstory. I love that we saw more of what made this character the way that he is. The villain, High Evolutionary, being tied to that. What a great villain. What a complex villain. What an interesting villain. Also, the dynamic of Gamora not being the real Gamora and how they treated that. They actually didn't take the cheap route out, which is what I thought they were going to do. But for my number 1 favorite superhero movie of 2023, it shouldn't be a surprise because I haven't mentioned it yet. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I shouldn't have been surprised because of how much I loved that first film, Into the Spider-Verse, and how much it blew me away by the animation, the graphics, the special effects, but also the story. It's one of the best multiverse stories that I think any of these superhero movies has done. And I think the second film continues that tradition. It handles multiverse in such a smarter way and a more cohesive way. It makes so much more sense when you watch it in the Spider-Verse. And also, I think Miles Morales, just in general, this movie has done a great job of introducing the Miles Morales character in films and getting audiences to love and appreciate him. Some people like him even more than Peter Parker. I think also the side characters and the side cast are great, like Spider-Gwen and so many of the character arcs that they go through. This film is fun. It really, really is, and I can't wait to see the third film. I can't wait to own this. I can't wait to watch it again and again and again. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what are your favorite superhero movies of 2023? What are your least favorite, the worst of the worst? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later.
Oh yeah, today say it